Hello. So if I asked you right now, is there something in your life that you know needs to change? You would probably say yes without even thinking about it. And if I asked you how long have you known, you would probably go quiet. So the gap between knowing and doing something about it, that's what this video is about. Because that gap is not harmless and it is costing you more than you think. So I'm Lindsey, Elliott, and I'm a coach who works with intelligent, capable women who are stuck in patterns of overthinking and anxiety and self-doubt. And today I want to talk about something that almost nobody talks about honestly, which is what happens when we keep choosing to wait. So that's not waiting because the timing is genuinely wrong, but waiting because waiting feels safer than deciding. Because here's the thing. Delay feels passive. It feels like it's buying yourself time or like you're being sensible or responsible or thorough. But delay is not a pause. It's a direction. So it's every month you spend going round in the same thoughts. You're not standing still. You're just moving into a version of your life that is shaped by this indecision. So let me say that another way because I think it matters. Delay is not neutral. So we treat it like it is and we tell ourselves, oh, I'll get to it, or I just need a bit more time, or when things settle down. And it all sounds reasonable and it sounds very measured. But what's actually happening underneath that is that something very different. So your mind presents the thing that you need to do, the conversation you need to have, or the decision you need to make, or the change you need to commit to, and then almost immediately it gives you all the reasons not to do it yet. So the mind has one timeline and it nags about getting things done, but then over here it will also give reasons for not doing them, and you kind of sit in between these two things. And you might be thinking that you're reflecting or thinking that you're weighing things up. But actually, all you're doing is just going back and forth between these two parts of the mind, between these same arguments that you probably went through last month and maybe even the month before that. So that isn't reflection, that is repetition. And the cost of that repetition is invisible because I know that your life still works, you're still showing up in it, you can still do the school run, your meetings, emails, and probably nobody around you would even guess what's going on inside, and you've been having the same internal debate for 6 months or a year or maybe even longer. But you know, don't you? And here's something I see again and again with the women that I work with. They don't think of themselves as people who delay. They think of themselves as people who think things through carefully. But there is a difference. There is a difference between genuine reflection and overthinking. But the difference isn't what most people think it is. So genuine reflection has a sort of natural end point. So you consider something, you feel something settle, and you move, you take some action. It might take a day, it might take a week, but there is some kind of movement. But what you'll notice about overthinking is it doesn't have an end point, so it just loops. So it's the same worries, the same what ifs, the same weighing up options that never seem to quite resolve themselves. And the reason that it never resolves is because you're not actually looking for the answer. What you're looking for in that, what the mind is looking for in that, is certainty. And certainty doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from trusting yourself enough to take action without it being there, without certainty being there. And intelligent women often delay longer than anyone else precisely because they care so much and they feel the weight of that decision and they consider all the angles and they take that responsibility seriously. And all of that is really admirable, can't say that, but it also becomes the perfect cover story for you not doing the thing that you already know you need to do. And if you are watching this and something in you is saying, oh yeah, I know exactly what she's talking about, then I want you to know that that's what I help with. So I work with women exactly like you privately in a 1-to-1 6-month coaching program. And it's not about giving you strategies to manage your overthinking. It's about helping you to see what's actually been driving the loop so that it loses its grip. And when that happens, decisions get simpler. Not because the situation changes, but because you stop second guessing the part of you that already knows. So if that does sound like what you need right now, then there is a link below in this video that you can book a conversation with me, and it's no pressure at all. It's just an honest conversation about where you are and whether working with me could be the right next step for you. So let's go a bit deeper into this here and now as well. So one of the biggest things that keeps women stuck is the belief that they need to feel ready before they act, and that there's some feeling of certainty or confidence that should arrive before the decision becomes safe to make. But think about it honestly. When has that feeling ever arrived ahead of time? So most of the meaningful things that you will have done in your life, you did before you felt ready. So you said the thing before you found the perfect words, or you left a job before you had the next one lined up, or you had a conversation before you knew how it was going to go. Because honestly, readiness is overrated. It's just something that keeps the mind happy. It's one of those ideas that sounds really wise, but actually just keeps you stuck where you are. Because the truth is, self-trust doesn't come from thinking your way to confidence. It comes from taking action. From doing the thing that your gut already told you to do, even though your mind is still busy arguing back and forth about it. So I want to just give you an example here. So I had something recently in my business where I had made quite a significant investment in something, and I needed to make a decision around whether I continued with that or whether I ended at a certain point. And honestly, my mind just went into complete overdrive about it, and I noticed that there was loads of back and forth, pros and cons lists, and I didn't know what I should do about it. Even though inside of me, I already knew that I wanted to leave. I knew that it was right for me, that it hadn't been quite the right container. And I think a lot of it was that I also kind of felt like I'd made a mistake, that maybe I'd made a bad decision. And there was some really amazing things within it. So I knew that it was worth taking some time to consider it. But at some point, I just noticed that I was stuck in some overthinking about it, because I noticed that the same thing, the same thoughts, the same pros, the same cons, the same what ifs were showing up in my mind. And I realised that I had already made the decision, but it was like my mind was just trying to check it out and to be certain, trying to be certain that I'd made the right decision this time, because it was trying to present to me that I'd made the wrong decision a few months ago. So there was this energy of knowing, and looking back, that knowing was there long before I acted on it. So the decision wasn't really hard. I had already made it, but I was just sort of waiting for my thinking to stop arguing about it. And that's actually making the decision. Okay, not the moment that you announce it, not the moment that you write your pros and cons list. The decision is already there. And the rest really was just noise. And if you've got something you're trying to make a decision about, you'll also notice that. So if you recognise yourself in any of this, I do want to offer you something that might be a bit uncomfortable, but also a bit freeing. So what if you're not stuck? What if you're not stuck in making this decision? What if what you're calling stuck is actually postponing taking action? Because stuck kind of suggests that you can't move, that there's something blocking you, or that you need to figure out the block before you can go anywhere. But most of the time, that's not what's happening. What's happening is you already know what you want to do, like I did in my decision, or at least you know what you don't want anymore. And instead of moving towards that, you're replaying the same thoughts about why you can't, or why you shouldn't, or you're not ready. So that's not being stuck. That's choosing to stay where you are. And I don't say that to be harsh. I say that because the moment that you can see it's a choice, you can get your power back. get your power back from the mind that will want to endlessly think about it. Because a choice can be changed, after all. Almost anything we decide we can change. But another month of replaying the same worries is still precious time spent. It's another month telling yourself that you'll deal with it when things calm down. And it's still a month lived in this pattern of overthinking and of indecision. And it honestly, this sort of pattern doesn't actually really get quieter with time. It just really gets more familiar, and it starts to become background noise. But here's what I notice with the women that I work with. So when they stop waiting for the thinking to resolve and just decide, something happens that they didn't expect to happen. So they feel lighter. Not because the situation has magically sorted itself out, but because the weight was never in the situation. It was in the constant mental activity about it. The replaying, the rehearsing, the running through the scenarios, that's what's heavy. And when it drops even a little bit, then there's this sense of, oh, I can just get on with it now. So one client described it as, I just don't need to manage this anymore. And that's what I want for you. So not more tools to cope with the noise in your head, but a clear understanding of what's creating the noise, so that it starts to settle on its own. So it's not wishful thinking, that's actually what happens when you see how your mind works, rather than being run by it. So if you've watched this and you know in a really quiet and honest part of yourself that something needs to change for you, then I would love to talk to you. So my work is not about more self-work. It's not about adding another strategy. It's about seeing through these kind of patterns that have been running the show, so that you can finally get on with living your life without your thinking getting in the way of it. So the link to book a call with me is in the comments section below. And if you're already hearing the voice that says, oh, I need to think about that, then just notice that, because that's the exact pattern that I've been talking about in this video. So if you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. And if this has resonated with you, I would really love it if you give the video a like, subscribe to my channel, or share it with someone, maybe another overthinking woman in your life who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the right words at the right time can really shift something. So I'll see you in my next video. Sending you lots of love. Bye.